onwards I was dead.
Would you say that it was all worth it?
Welcome to Breaking Eggs with Seth Shezi. Breaking Eggs is a visual podcast where Seth talks to creative entrepreneurs, designers, seekers, healers, and thought leaders. During these candid and insightful chats, Seth teases out some nuggets from his exceptional guests that are sure to inspire, entertain, and make you go, huh, when you hear their unique methods of pursuing fulfillment.
I am Seth Shezi. Join me every week as I crack open the lives and learnings of some very special guests. We'll be chatting about the 5 golden pillars of a good life: wellness, wealth, love, mindset, and impact. Through these unscripted chats, I'm looking to uncover untold stories, answer some of my own questions, and hopefully leave you with better ones to ask about your life.
On this week's episode, I speak to Africa's most celebrated chef. I sit down with award-winning chef extraordinaire Luc Del Roberts of the Test Kitchen fame, and later opening the Potluck Club, Shortmarket Club, the Fledglings, as well as the Test Kitchen Carbon. Let's break.
So I and everyone else knows you as the celebrated chef Luc Del Roberts, who's basically won every award that is there to win. What does that mean to you? Like, what does our perception of you mean to you?
Well, it's often hard for me to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's been a long journey. There's been an up and down kind of journey. I think that I worked extremely hard for it, and I think that I'm just now starting to learn to appreciate what I've actually achieved.
Yeah.
The fact that people, put me in high esteem in terms of cooking, I think means a lot to me, because for many, many years I felt like I had a talent, but I felt like it hadn't necessarily been recognized by me in its full potential, and by others. And I think I set out, particularly when I first came to South Africa, like Colombe, I set out to prove to myself that I could really cook, and that I felt the need to really prove that to people as well. I felt like, I think until that moment I had done a lot of jobs, but it hadn't quite clicked yet, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. But then what had actually led you to the kitchen?
It was just a serendipitous moment. I left school at 16. I went to an engineering course, which I didn't even know what engineering was.
Yeah.
Stayed a week, walked out, was going to become an electrician. I knew I could, long story short, I knew I could get £125 a week in a brown paper bag at the end of the week in my back pocket.
Yeah.
My sister's boyfriend at the time was an electrician.
Okay.
And I thought he was my hero.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that. And then at that time, my uncle was visiting from Saudi Arabia. He was a hotel manager.
Okay.
And he suggested perhaps I try something in hospitality.
Yeah.
Mentioned cooking. I said, I enjoyed cooking when I was younger. I used to make curries at home, make a mess all over the kitchen.
Yeah.
Bake scones with my mum. I enjoyed it. It seemed like something that I could apply my mind to, and I was instantly hooked.
Okay. And so then what was the first, step? Did you go with your uncle to work with him there, or what did you do after that when you...
I spent the rest of that year in scullery, working in scullery, washing up in different pubs and manor houses, and at the same time I spent...
Where was this?
In East Sussex, in the countryside.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I tried to pick up as much as I could from that. And then I worked at a place called, I think it was Highfield Place or something like that. It was like an old manor house.
Yeah.
I was washing up. I used to make the fires, take the rubbish out, and I used to watch the chefs working.
Yeah.
And then all I wanted to do was be one of the chefs cooking. But I crashed my motorbike on the way there, and I spent 3 months on crutches. And in those 3 months, I cooked my way through the entire Raymond Blanc Manuel Saison book at home in my mum's kitchen.
Wow. Yeah. How old were you at this point?
16.
Wow. And again, what made you feel like, okay, cool, I think I have a knack for this? Or were you more inspired by the fact that if I get to be a chef, then I get to, I don't know, make these impressive dishes and recognize my childhood dream? Or what was actually drawing you to it at the time? Because it's not an easy sort of job, and you being in the scullery could see already that it's quite difficult.
I loved it though. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the sense of discipline. When I started cooking the book, I practiced all the different cuts. Yeah. I loved like learning how to cut little cubes and fine slices, and I remember making a salmon tartare with a little cucumber fan on the top of it, and I just loved everything about it.
Okay, and so then when did you actually move then to Switzerland to study officially?
So then I did a 2-year course, like a government college course, and at that time I was working in anything from a pub to a zoo kitchen to
anyone who would let you cook basically.
And then I even started trimming up screwdriver handles in a plastics factory. I don't know why I did that. I think I did it for the money. But and then when I left college, my mother's Swiss, so I was able to get a job in Switzerland. And at that time, that was the place to go and learn. And I got a job. Unfortunately, my mum's Swiss French. I got a job in the German part in Zurich. So
I mean, would it have helped either way? Do you speak French at the time?
I speak French. Yeah. So it would have been a huge help because I was kind of the English, kid that didn't speak Swiss German. And it was an absolute fucking nightmare, to be honest with you.
How long were you there for?
I was there for about 10 months. It was an 18-month contract, and I lasted 10 months. It was the most lonely time of my entire life.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And in that time, what did you think you took out of it? Because I'm sure that sort of resilience and being able to survive, even 10 months is a long time, especially when you're younger, and to feel those feelings of loss and alienation from everyone else. What did you take or learn from that?
I basically came back. I was a boy when I left. I came back as a young man.
It's like a
in
bit
terms
of
like
initiation.
fending for myself. And also from a kitchen point of view, I learned like discipline, organization. They were radical on systems and organization. And I was running the cold section by the time I left, but it never seemed enough to them. I was always abused and shouted at.
And you kind of felt that it would probably be that way anyway, no matter how high you ascend.
I was also too cocky. So when I started there, I remember...
Luke Del Roberts?
Cocky?
No.
No, when I started there, I had this Spanish chef that was above me called Roberto. He spoke Swiss German and Spanish. And I spoke French and English. So it was a marriage made in heaven, as you can imagine. He shouted at me one day, and I stuck my finger up at him. Just like I said, "Fuck you," and stuck my finger up at him. And from that moment onwards, I was dead.
Of course.
I absolutely
you've
ruined.
Crossed the line, and you've embarrassed him in front of his kitchens. Okay.
So I always struggled with authority from school onwards, and it got me into a lot of trouble in kitchens. But I always thought I could fight my way out of anything,
Yeah. And then how then do you go from that and end up at La Colombe? What was that journey?
Oh, God, like lots of jobs in London. Learned to cook proper French food at a restaurant called Helena's L'Etoile under a chef called Kevin Hopgood, who remains to this day one of my great mentors. I went to work for the Sugar Club group where I learned fusion cuisine, a restaurant called Barley Sugar under a guy called Claudio Aprile. He was amazing. I learned what plantains were, what taro root was, and yuzu. I discovered yuzu for the first time, and like I went there as a sous chef. To take the sous chef job, he had just employed a sous chef, and then he said, "I can give you a chef de partie." I said, "I'll take it." Because I just like felt like I'd gone from this kind of like narrow lane to this like open forest in terms of ingredients. And then after that, I opened a restaurant as the head chef called The Loft in London for a group called Accor, and then they moved me to Asia to do openings within the hotel group. And then after that, I struggled with the hotels. Again, the authority and the hierarchy and just this kind of mundane kind of attitude towards food. It was it's not creative, more formulaic in a way. And then I got the job offer in La Colombe, and I said, like, I'm going to take that restaurant to the top 50 in the world.
Yeah. And at the time when you were approached, I mean, La Colombe at the time I think was very classically French.
Yeah.
And you had just ignited this new love of fusion and, like, you know, Asian sort of flavors. Did you think that you could imbue that into the La Colombe menu, or were you actually ready to go back to something more classical? What was your vision?
I did pure classic at the beginning. I just did pure classic because I didn't want to rock the boat. I've always recognized I'm cooking for the client.
Yeah.
They're not eating for me.
Yeah.
So I went very French. I worked really hard on my sauces, and sauces and dressings, and just getting that sense of luxury on the plate. And then within a year, when I arrived there was like 3 staff, 2 students, and scullers.
Yeah.
Everyone had gone. The first New Year's Eve that we had there was the worst service I've had in my life.
Wow. Okay.
Probably a third of the restaurant walked out without having eaten main courses. It was horrific. But within 2 years, it was in the eat out.
Yeah.
And then I think the following year we got onto the top 50.
Yeah.
But it was hard, and there was a lot of sacrifice involved.
When you say sacrifice, what are you referring to?
Well, we had a new baby, Finley.
Yeah.
And you know, I could have been there a lot more for him and his mum, you know. But I was obsessively focused on doing beautiful food and proving to the world that I was a great chef, if I'm honest, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it does come back in some way. So all the effort you put into it means that you ascend faster in your career, and then you're better and available for, you know, him later on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I showered him every night.
Yeah.
We ate dinner every night together, and I went back to work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy with that.
I mean, it's still quite remarkable. I don't think a lot of chefs are able to compatibilize their lives or create that sense of balance. So,
yeah.
Cool. And so then from there onwards, what then sort of like was not enough for you that made you think, okay, cool, I'm getting this recognition. Maybe I am good at what I'm doing, but I still want to have my own one. Well, why did you decide, okay, you need to actually come up with your own?
Well, it was quite weird because the World Cup year we got to number 12.
Yeah.
And then in that same year, during the World Cup, I cooked a function for Sony in Joburg. Again, one of the most horrendous nights of my life.
No. Yeah.
I think we did 1,500 meals, or like 1,500 people.
Yeah.
It
or
was
eating a La Colombe menu.
eating like a spin on a La Colombe menu, like a 4-course.
Yeah.
With like hordes of chefs in the Sun International Hotel. I think it was the Sun International. And they paid me $100,000 for that function.
Yeah.
Which I put in my pocket, and I spoke to the guy at Eitzach, and I said, look, can I do this as a private job? And he said, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then with that money, Sandaline said, like, we're good now for 3 months. Like, you need to go do your own thing now. You know, so she kind of like
pushed you into it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, when did the kind of concept for the test kitchen? Because again, there's no linear line from what you were doing at La Colombe to the test kitchen. That felt like a completely new like idea and concept that you must have either been sitting and brewing for a while, or it was just a departure, like an anti-La Colombe kind of way of looking at cooking.
Well, I opened a lot of restaurants in Asia that were open kitchens.
Yeah.
I opened a Japanese restaurant called Shunmi. It was called Shun first, then it had to change its name to Shunmi. It was based on the Japanese Shunju group.
Okay, yeah.
Organic Japanese dining.
Yeah.
And when I went to Japan to learn that food, I worked in Shunju for a while.
Yeah.
Like that was another like aha moment in terms of like ingredients and style.
Yeah. Purity,
simplicity, and just flavor combinations. So that restaurant was designed by a guy called Sugimoto, from Super Potato Design.
Yeah.
And he was very much about earth and wooden tables and like granite walls and it was just beautiful. And I just thought I want to do something where I put the kitchen in the center of a warehouse, and I want to make it about the show as well as the food, you know?
Yeah. And I think here in South Africa, that wasn't really a thing at the time.
No, I don't think so.
Were you not worried about the risks of it potentially failing, people not getting it?
I was petrified, to be honest with you. 2 days before I opened, someone sat at the bar and said, "Who's going to come? This is in Woodstock, Luke. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah, and I think everyone has to picture the fact that Woodstock wasn't what it is today.
No.
You know, at the time, it was still perceived as a lot more grimy.
Yeah. But we were full from the day we opened. We had 24 seats, and from literally the day we opened until COVID, we were full.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a waiting list. I remember, like, sort of like celebrities would always struggle to get in there. It was in the news at some point for you didn't have space for Ellen DeGeneres. And it was this big hoopla.
I think they're very upset about that.
No, I remember, But I think you made a plan the following day, because I think they did come the following day or something.
I don't know.
Like Ed Sheeran, again, because somehow I'd always get roped into some of these calls when people or celebrities were struggling. I was like, I didn't even know you were in the country. Now, because you need a table, now I have to know about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then you get to start and you're full this whole time and you've racked up all of this. Do you even know all the awards you've got for Test Kitchen?
I don't count,
Yeah.
Like, I've never counted, and I can't tell you years that things happened in.
I mean, that's a luxury, to have won so many accolades that you don't even care anymore.
I do care
deeply. So you don't count anymore. Yeah.
I care deeply about every accolade I've ever won, but I'm not that type of person that knows in my head exactly like what I've won and when I won it. You know.
Yeah.
I'm more focused on what I'm doing today, like the new dish,
Yeah.
That's for me like the most important thing.
And would you say that's sort of like one of the lessons to be taken from things? If you're passionate about something, focus on what you're doing and evolving that, and not get stuck in chasing sort of like the accolades and
completely.
Okay.
They all come.
One would argue that it's easy for someone like you to say that because you've already achieved all of it. You know, when you've already got the awards, it's sort of like a lot easier because you can settle back and be like, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you're still seeking the validation, what do you have to do?
You know, the thing that cleans my mind more than anything is working on a new dish.
Okay.
So if I'm in the kitchen and there's people around me and there's an energy that I'm feeding off, and I've got like the dish in my head and I'm putting the components together, that cleans out any other noise.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
You know,
it's almost meditative.
Yeah, and if I can work on that dish, get it right, and then finish it, then get another one. It's like the fucking program, one step at a time. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, like take a segue quickly. How does a dish come to you? Is it like writing a song where you hear like a little tune or a car alarm and you're like, oh, that's a melody? Like, how does a dish come to you?
I can see the dish in my head and I can see what it's going to taste like.
Okay.
I can see
what
the
comes
flavor.
First? Do you see an ingredient? You're like, oh, I can see it this way. Or is it the plating? Or
I think it comes like one component at a time.
Yeah.
But it comes really quickly. And if I'm feeling inspired, you know, like yesterday I woke up in the morning and thought I want to do a dish and call it hotcakes. I want to do a spicy little dim sum with a spicy hot and sour mushroom broth.
Nice, yeah.
And by the time I got to work, I spent a lot of time in the car thinking.
Yeah.
By the time I got to work, I had it in my head what I wanted to do.
Okay. But then again, that goes with you being obviously professional and an expert at this point. Someone else would not completely understand how adding, tamarind would basically affect a dish. But you can work it out in your head before you have to actually try and make it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can almost, it's taken like lots of years, but I can almost like break the recipe down into quantities in my head.
Okay. Cool. And what was the dish that was the most difficult for you to conceptualize or conceive that now maybe is a celebrated dish that was one of your star dishes, maybe at Test Kitchen?
The billionaire shortbread took me a while.
Oh, yeah.
That's still, I think that's...
Which one, the savory or the sweet one?
The savory, definitely the savory.
Yeah.
So I remember playing with that with Ivor and making a jelly and then semi-setting the jelly, and like making it so
Well, actually,
complicated.
just can you break it down? What's in it?
So it's porcini shortbread on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you got a truffle jus jelly. And then you got duck liver parfait. And then you got the 100% cocoa butter chocolate that's infused with truffle. So what I love about that dish, it looks like it's going to be sweet, but it's like there's no sweetness at all.
Yeah. And then the full circle moment was that at the end you would get the sweet
the
version.
millionaires. Yeah.
Cool. And so after that, what was the aha moment or the nirvana where you were like, oh, cool, we've cracked the code. This is it.
For that dish.
Yeah.
I could see it in my head. Like, and I knew that the chocolate would work well with the liver. And I kind of knew it was going to work, but like the result was better than I expected.
When it comes to actually the test kitchen, the dishes is the reason why people were going back. But people would always obviously want you to be there and be part of the theatre.
Yeah.
Does that ever weigh on you, or do you want people to just focus on the dishes, or are you happy to be like the front man? And you know,
I love it. I love being at Fledglings now. Like, brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
It's like I said to someone yesterday. It's like my perfect crutch. And they said like it's not your crutch, it's your inspiration. You know. But I'm definitely, if I'm at work, I'm happy.
Which is not an easy thing to say after all these years being in this game.
No, but it's so easy for me.
I wanted then to sort of like wrap up that sort of era where you've been at the top of Eat Out and as #1 restaurant in the country for like many years. I think you were like 4 consecutive years at some point, and then 1 break, and then you went back again. So, and then you've been on the world's 50 best. With all of that going for you, why close?
It was weighing heavily on me. The expectation was weighing heavily. The burden of the staff bill, as opposed to what we needed to make, was working pre-COVID. But I'd changed it to the light room and dark room. We had gone from serving 140 people a day to 40. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And so the business.
Genius concept, by the way.
Sorry.
Genius
the
concept.
Light,
the light, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was like the next step in the evolution. It was the worst financial step I've ever made, but like it's not about that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to feel like proud, and I was excited to, like I saw it in my head how it was going to be. I was going to have a train track running up and down the middle with the food, you know, that would slide on a trolley, almost like one of those like old-fashioned. Yeah. But there wasn't enough space, and like this big waiter with like metal things on the side with like food, like I don't know, sometimes
like a
I just
steampunk kind of.
Yeah. Sometimes I just have an idea and I fucking have to run with it. Yeah. You know, and so pre-COVID it was working, just like it was making a little bit of money. Yeah. On the 40 people on that price, but then after COVID, there was no way we could charge half of that. Yeah. You know, and so it's a combination of like financial factors and also personal factors that I just wanted to detach myself from it a little bit. Okay. And the burden of having to be there every single night, because I was pretty much there every single night when it was, you know, the light room and dark room. Now I'm there like 2, 3, 4 times a week. This week I'll probably work 4 nights, but it's my choice. Yeah.
So along that time with the ascension of the test kitchen, that was a huge and powerful sort of era in the South African food landscape. You also sprouted a lot of like young chefs who are now head chefs in their own right at different restaurants. So when you then decided, cool, you're going to open up Shortmarket Club, Fledgling, and the Potluck Club, was the idea for you to spread your brand and to try and get more variety in the food offering? Or was it to basically look at the people that you sort of like, I don't know, fostered and say, cool, you're ready now, you can, you know, go ahead, something of your own?
Yeah, it's the people that have to drive the growth. Yeah. I think it's the same in any business. If you've got people that are ready for the next step, then you either need to, you know, shake their hand and wish them well, or you need to create another opportunity for them.
Yeah, for them. Okay.
And both things are equally important depending on the person, you know. I think sometimes when you open something, or you facilitate something for someone just to keep them, and it's an ego-driven decision,
Okay.
then it's not fair, and it will end badly.
Yeah. Okay. So then how did the concept of potluck come about?
Potluck?
Yes.
Oh, that started off downstairs next door to the test kitchen.
Yeah.
It was a 20-seater. The thing with that was I got the space next door, and then I was able to work in both restaurants at the same time.
Yeah.
Which gave me absolute control.
Yeah.
Which is something that I, struggle with. And then obviously the landlord said, we got this space upstairs, said, no way, I've just opened it.
Yeah.
And then I came and I sat outside on the porch, on the landing there, and the sun was going down. I thought, fuck, this could be really incredible.
Special.
You know?
Yeah. I actually remember the first time I actually came to potluck, we were trying to go to the test kitchen, but obviously it was full. And so then we got like to sit at the counter at the potluck club. And I think it was Wes who was like
Wes was the guy out the front.
Yeah. And I remember just being mesmerized by that whole experience, because we were sitting right at the counter, and so every time he would make a dish, even if it wasn't our dish, he would explain what he was doing.
Yeah.
And that I was like, we need more restaurants that are sort of this kind of open to the kitchen, because the bar experience is just on another level. Cool. And after that, then you gained so much success that it almost became competition to test kitchen.
I don't think it was ever a competition. It wasn't in my head. It was, for me, it was just another outlet, another great creative outlet for just like banging, simple, not multi-sensory, multifaceted dishes.
Yeah.
Like I remember I had like just foie gras in a torchon, wrapped in the muslin, a slice with brioche and a chutney, and like that for me, the purity of that was everything it needed to be. But
of course,
if it had been a test kitchen, people have said, I think it needs something else.
Yeah.
You know?
No, of course. Do you feel now that after many years that you've done this, you have the confidence to actually offer something that might be perceived as simple? If you believe in it, you're like, here, have it. Or do you still carry a bit of that pressure to say, okay, cool, well, for this branding, it might need to have a bit more. If it's here, then maybe it's actually enough if it's more plain?
I think that all the spaces, I think Fledgling's is perfect for that.
Yeah.
I can put on a dead simple dish at Fledgling's. I could get fresh porcini through the door, pan fry them and serve them with a truffle cream on top and grated parmesan.
Yeah.
And people will flip out about it, and they won't judge me because of the simplicity of it.
Fair enough.
But I think that other brands, people are expecting a little bit more effort, and I need to listen to that.
Fledglings, when that came about, it was an idea where you wanted to offer, correct me if I'm wrong, you were looking to offer, an upskilling kind of program, correct?
It was, to be honest with you, it was all Sandaline's thing, eh?
Yeah.
So she started a thing called the Muscle Crew at the market.
Yes, I
with
remember.
Bibor and Finney's old nanny.
Yeah.
One of the daughters and two of the boyfriends of the daughters and a friend.
Yes.
And so it started like that, selling seafood.
Yeah.
On the weekend, and then Sandaline said, I want to do a restaurant called Fledgling's, and I want to do it in the Shortmarket Club. And that's how it started. And then I kind of got more involved when it moved over here to the test kitchen.
Yeah.
And it was an important move in terms of I think branding and also iconic location, and it just kind of it worked.
Yeah. Okay, and then in terms of the menu, it is rather eclectic. What's the concept behind it?
The concept is like it started off dead simple, burgers, calamari, and the odd little like nem, and then it's just evolved now.
But
so
you go from burgers to fish and chips and the Japanese omelette.
Yeah.
Japanese pancake.
Yeah, that was the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like what I love about that concept is there's no defined like angle. It's not modern British. It's not classic French.
Yeah.
I can do what I want, and that for me is the beauty of cooking. I can actually put on any dish and it will be accepted.
Yeah.
And the burger keeps it grounded.
Yeah.
It keeps it accessible, so you can come eat a burger the person you're with can have a 6-course tasting menu.
Yeah.
And you'll be equally happy, and you'll spend 140 rand or whatever it is, and they'll spend 1,000 rand.
Yeah, of course. Okay, fair enough.
And I guess it also just keeps that like sense of perception there. It's very important, because it's an upliftment project, to not continue to reposition ourselves and evolve and and end up where we were before.
Yeah. Talking about Sandaline, she was responsible for doing most of the interiors of all your projects.
Yeah.
How does that work for you guys?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, she's got a factory called Naturalis, which does all the manufacturing and design of the furniture. We worked, closely on the design, particularly the new test kitchen, and then Carbon in Joburg, and Shortmarket, and I mean we butted heads, but that was her area of expertise.
Yeah.
And I concentrated on the food.
At the end of 2020, even during 2020, you started making plans to move to Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Was that to expand the empire, or to actually like downsize in Cape Town and move somewhere else?
It was a risk, diversifying risk, because I was so paranoid about COVID coming again and wiping out the Cape Town restaurants, that I thought I can offset, because at that time we just didn't know where we were. At that time, to offset the risk a little bit was good, and I had 2 senior members of staff that wanted to move to Johannesburg.
Okay, all right.
So it's always the staff, the leaders, that drive the potential for growth. Without that, I never would have done it.
And did you not feel trepidation with not knowing the Joburg market enough?
Absolutely. Nothing is a given now. We used to, pre-COVID, we used to open anything and it would just fly.
Yeah. Off the back of your name.
Off the back of my name, yeah. And I was nervous. I still am nervous. I watch a lot more carefully now, how busy we are and the amount of covers. And, but it seems to be gaining a lot of momentum. And I think what we're doing in Joburg is quite different to what a lot of people are doing. And I think it's when you're, trailblazing without sounding like arrogant.
No, but that's exactly
what you're doing. Time. Yeah. It takes time, for people to trust you.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't taken that long, because how long has Shortmarket been in Joburg now?
I think it was October last year, so it'll be a year.
And you are fully booked lunch and dinner every day nowadays. I mean, that's not very long.
Not lunch.
Oh, not lunch.
You can get in pretty much any day. You can get in lunch. Okay. Dinner's really solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, that usually, if you come up with a new concept, it usually takes a lot longer than 11 months.
I think I'm just an incredibly impatient person.
You basically open Carbon.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they see it as Test Kitchen 2.0.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I think it's the most fine dining approach restaurant that we have in the group, and I wanted to do that. Initially, when we opened, I wanted to go very classic and luxury, and and then I quickly realized that the Joburg crowd, they want like punchy, fun, exciting dishes.
Yeah.
And so that's when we decided to pull all the brands in. We put Fledglings, Potluck, Carbon, pulled them all together. What are our punchiest dishes? Let's make a shorter tasting menu that's cheaper.
Yeah.
And let's offer tapas as an alternative option.
Yeah. But you're saying that like most people will still want to go for the tasting menu if
most
you go into the
do.
Taste Kitchen. Okay. And then why Carbon?
The reason I called it Carbon, to be honest with you, it was a guy called Michael Beckett's that did a lot of artwork for us.
Yeah.
And he did a thesis for his college, and he redefined what Test Kitchen could be.
Okay.
And he called it Test Kitchen Carbon.
Yeah.
And then it kind of worked because of the whole like phoenix rising from the ashes.
Completely. Yeah.
And I just like the sound of it. Test Kitchen Carbon. It's just like bang.
Yeah. And the carbon is a coal turning into diamond.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
With all of this, obviously you're not showing any signs of slowing down. I'm sure you still have like ideas that you want to open and expand, correct?
Yeah.
Where are you thinking of expanding to?
We're looking at possible overseas ventures.
Where
Nothing
overseas?
concrete yet.
Where?
Just initial discussions. We've been offered a number of things overseas, but nothing's felt right. So look at that. But my main objective is we're opening the bar downstairs, the potluck bar on the first floor.
Nice.
In December.
Yeah.
So that's going to be
called?
It's going to be called the Potluck Bar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Yeah.
Don't diffuse the brand too much.
No.
Like, people know something.
Yeah. Just say what it is,
Yeah.
And that's going to be canapes and drinks, pre-dinner and post-dinner.
Okay.
So
cool.
It will be a bar in its own right, but it will also be a place where you can go. If you're coming to eat at 8, you can go there at 7, have incredible cocktails and little oyster trolley or little olive trolley that comes around. And then I've got Vincent and X, my 2 longest standing staff member, the brothers.
Yeah.
You definitely know them.
I do. Yeah.
So they're gonna Vince, because he's a big talker.
Yeah.
He's out the front. He's very cheeky.
You're quite good actually at hiring people like that, because a lot of they have a sense of personality of their own, which I think is a testament to you, because I know that you do rule with an iron fist, but like people still feel comfortable enough to actually bring a bit of themselves to work, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah. And then X in the bar, and then it's gonna be fun, and I'm so proud to see them grow
so like
into
flourishing.
this. Yeah.
You've achieved all of these things, and everyone looks at you with so much glee, and you inspire even the industry. So like every other younger chef that I speak to, you are the person, like, everyone basically mentions you as some kind of blueprint of what they would like to achieve for themselves, because I guess you do it with like a sense of ease. You make it look like it comes naturally. It's banked on your talent, and you still have a good balance on your life. Would you say that it was all worth it?
Definitely.
Okay. So you'd do it again?
I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
And along the way, what are the lessons? What were the losses and the things that you feel like, okay, cool, this could have worked out differently? And what are the really triumphant things that matter to you that we don't get to see?
I mean, the most triumphant thing for me is just being able to go to work and shake people's hands and hug them, and know that we've a lot of us have walked this journey together, and they're growing. Their kids will, as a result, have a better life potentially, and their kids might. So if I've imparted anything on the social dynamic of the people that work for me, then that's my proudest moment.
Yeah. Cool. And I guess it's something that you see on a daily basis, because yes, it's food and it's a restaurant, but it's actually really, it's like the people business, because you have the staff and you're also serving people. So it's really more managing that rather than the dishes, and the dishes like the vehicle that sort of like, I don't know, ties the whole thing together.
The dishes are the engine.
Yeah.
They're the engine, because if you keep concentrating on what dish you're doing next, and you make it beautiful, the byproduct of that will be growth.
Yeah. And do you have any key sort of like ways of how you like armor up, or you keep your mind in check, or what is it that keeps you sort of sane and steady and focused?
I mean, I do quite a lot of therapy. Have been for many years.
Amazing.
I try and swim in the ocean as much as I can, and I'm now gymming like 5 times a week as well.
Okay.
I've recently separated from my wife, which has been tough, and the routine of mindful therapy, and the routine of training, and is keeping me, for the most part, grounded.
Yeah. And I guess for you, like, you sometimes have to make sure that you are good and your mind is good, because you have a lot of people that are looking to you for leadership.
Exactly. It's bigger than me, it's my child, my family, and my extended family, which is all the people I work with.
Yeah.
I need to be good for them.
Of course. You mentioned therapy, which again, I think for me is almost like something that we take for granted if you believe in therapy. But a lot of people don't understand that within like the chefing or the kitchen industry, if you read like Anthony Bourdain's sort of book, it's a very gritty kind of world that things like therapy usually are kind of like discarded. And so I think it's such a beautiful thing that you actually, you know, an advocate for it, and you get to talk about it, because then your staff and the other aspiring chefs as well will maybe not fall into the trappings of thinking that, oh, you need to just be a brute about it. You can actually having therapy, there's nothing wrong with it, and it can actually, you know, help your mind.
Yeah, it's I think it's actually imperative.
Yeah, completely.
Because it's tough. It's a tough job that takes a lot from you.
Yeah.
It attracts people that thrive in an addictive environment.
Yeah.
The net result, if you don't manage yourself properly, can often be problematic.
To sort of like lighter and more like worldly things, the Eat Out Awards are coming back this year.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I think it's great, man.
Yeah.
It just means the industry's back.
Yeah.
You know, which is fucking beautiful.
Yeah. And do you have anything that you're hoping for, crossing fingers, or?
I really hope that that Jason Cosmos and the Potluck Club are recognized, because I think he's cooking beautiful food.
Amazing, yeah.
And there's I also like I mean, I don't want to punt, but I had an incredible meal at Salsify the other day.
Oh yeah. Nice, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And for me, you don't have to punt yourself. I think that Carbon is like, right up there. I don't know in terms of period if it's been open for long enough. I actually don't remember.
I think Carbon is great. I'm proud of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I think if you come back in 6 months to a year, it's going to blow the fucking lights out.
Okay. Good. And I also love the fact that, like, I think Joburg is, instead of you morphing too much to fit into what Joburg wants, Joburg is sort of like learning to understand that there's another way of actually eating, which I think is really great. But also, like, there are sort of losses as well of other restaurants, because isn't 11, what?
1682?
No. Martinez's place.
Oh, DW11.
Yeah, I couldn't remember that name. Yeah.
I always get mixed up.
Yeah. So that's closing down, no?
Apparently so, and he's going to Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you see that as a positive, or does it threaten you when you see other fine dining restaurants closing down, or do you think, no, actually?
I don't think about it, to be honest with you. It doesn't, like I said, just concentrate on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much about everyone else.
Yeah. And you are probably at this point itching to get back to the world's 50 best.
I'm not.
What?
No.
Yeah?
No,
Tell me more.
I'm so happy, I'm so happy and content now. I live in Komaki by the sea.
Yeah.
Like, I've done that world.
Yeah.
You know, if I end up back there by mistake, I'm not going to be cross.
Yeah.
But I do not.
It's not something you're chasing.
I don't want to chase it. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And once you're in it, you're in it.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. And would you say that it's nice for people to sort of like notch that once and not trying to keep up with that? Or, you know, is it, because I mean, it must be a nice thing, because now, like, you know, everyone's celebrating because Fane is like...
Yeah, amazing.
And to have that be only one restaurant in like all of Africa that's made it to the top 50.
Yeah.
And, you used to that, you've done it so many years, and I think people are looking at you now thinking, oh, of course it's going to get back there.
No, I doubt it. But I think for Fane... Like, I messaged Pete, and I'm so fucking happy for him.
Yeah.
Because we arrived at the same time in South Africa.
Yeah.
And he's put a lot of work in, and he's a very talented chef.
Yeah.
And I said, just enjoy it. For the first 2 or 3 times that I was there for the top 50, I thought it was a fluke. I thought, like, no, but I can't be like these guys.
Yeah.
But actually, you need to, like, when you're there, you need to acknowledge to yourself that you
don't get there by chance. Yeah.
You're worthy of being there, you know.
At the end of it all, because now your life is like shifting slightly, and you're not necessarily downscaling, but like you're simplifying your life, and maybe to, I don't know, keep yourself and more in check. What is the one thing that you hope people take or say about you? Like,
if I die.
I mean, let's not say you die. Let's say if you retire.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. I just hope I hope they say, like, he was a good guy and I learned something from him, You know?
I'm sure they're already saying that. Like, dig deeper. Like, everyone already
Dig
says
deep.
that.
Is that weak?
Because, naturally, everyone already feels that way. I'm sure you get told that all the time. So, like, you get to wear that and enjoy that while you're still, doing it.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
That we all have those sort of like secret like wishes that I wish people understood or knew that this is actually the thing that I measure my sort of success with. And I guess for you it is sort of like uplifting young chefs and like imparting as much as what you know. And I think maybe in later years also learning to sort of like show everyone that being vulnerable doesn't take away your sort of like leadership qualities.
Exactly. That is so important.
Cool.
Being honest and vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's when people follow you.
Great. So now, after this, what are you doing? What's the first thing you're doing? Are you designing a new dish? Are you going for surf?
So I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to check on the special that I put on last night.
Yeah.
I'm going to tweak that. And then I got therapy at 12 o'clock.
Beautiful.
Keep my mind straight.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, son.
Yeah, always good to chat to you. And
amazing to chat, and lovely top as well.
It's vegan.
It's vegan. Beautiful, man.
Cool, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Luke Dale Roberts, and you're watching Breaking Eggs with Seth Shezi.
Thank you for listening. Catch us next week for another episode of Breaking Eggs with Seth Shezi. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. Until then, let's break.